The Columbian Exchange. The term first originated from Alfred W. Crosby in his environmental history book, The Columbian Exchange. This term was adopted rapidly by historians. The exchange was the transfer of new animals, plants, and people between Eurasia and the Americas. It brought success in food production as well as population growth for the Europeans. The Columbian Exchange also created new opportunities and land for expansion. Here's how to be an expert on the Columbian Exchange. Download this app into your brains: animals, plants, and people. These categories, as well as these subjects, are what made up the Columbian Exchange. The exchange of animals between the New and the Old World brought new ways of living. While there were animal exchanges between the New and Old Worlds in both directions, the most revolutionary of the two were the imports into America. Quick breeding pigs, fast horses, and milk-producing cows helped increase the quality of diet in the Americas. The European horses also allowed Native Americans to hunt animals such as buffalo. Stronger animals also allowed higher standards of agriculture. Imports of oxen and other animals could be used for transportation or in the fields. The exchange of plants brought new agricultural practices between the Old and New Worlds. Non-native crops were brought to the New and Old Worlds. Italy was introduced its tomatoes, and Ireland to its potatoes, while the New World was introduced to things such as wheat. Other crops such as peanuts, corn, and blueberries are all examples of foods that were in the exchange. Soil in new areas allowed plants to have unprecedented growth and increased the food supply, which in turn increased the population. The world's food supply was a huge factor in its population doubling from 1650 to 1850. The exchange of people initially went in one direction. Europeans settling in the New World provided new means of expansion and manipulation of resources. Lots of land provided a lot of feeding and breeding grounds for animals to reproduce on. More land also meant more area for agriculture and the production of food. While the expansion into the New World seemed totally positive, there were a few nasty things that came along with the Columbian Exchange. Disease and sickness were huge in the initial conquering of the Americas. The majority of Native Americans who died from interaction with Europeans died mainly because of disease. The Europeans brought along new diseases that the Native Americans had never been exposed to. The biggest of these diseases was smallpox, but also included chickenpox, mumps, and other diseases. This also directly led to the conquering of the Americas because of how much the disease weakened stability within the natives. The mighty Inca Empire, located along the entire backstretch of South America, was wiped out by a couple hundred men. This is because the leader came down with smallpox, and in turn, the empire had an internal power struggle, allowing Pizarro to practically walk in and take over. Disease from Europeans are accounted for a high percentage of Native American deaths. Additionally, because of the need for cultivation of new land in the Americas, the Atlantic slave trade popped up as a result. Imperialist European countries imposed their will on captives by shipping them to America for labor. In agriculture, problems clearly arose within exchange of crops. In particular, potatoes from the New World that the Irish greatly depended on were wiped out by a single fungus. Additionally, new animals and new habitats cause rapid population growth when there are no natural predators to cap the food chain. For example, in Hawaii, the mongoose was introduced to the environment to clear out rats but had no natural predators. As a result, nesting bird grounds have been diminished and threatens the environment. Examples of invasive species, as well as weeds, introduction to diseases, forced labor, and land exploitation, show that the Columbian Exchange was not entirely beneficial. Environmental equilibrium is highly threatened, and the world has experienced its highest extinction rates of species. However, food production and human survival rates have been at an unprecedented rate. There has been more food, land, and wealth to go around, but is it worth the cost? The Columbian Exchange brought together the New and Old Worlds. While it brought many problems, it also brought great improvements.